Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This match is part of the Cottercup. We have Hermite versus Siege. Hermite is going to be representing Peking University, while Siege is going to be representing the Royal University of Technology from Stockholm, Sweden. On Destination, a very fun PvZ map. I almost feel like it's kind of been influential as a map. I don't really have any proof of this, but my argument is that standard +1 Zealot Archon Rush is kind of developed specifically because of this map, and that is a completely unfounded claim. People can feel free to disagree with me, but really I feel like it was kind of one of those catalysts for the standard Zerg versus Protoss to date, which really is that +1 attack with Archons alongside. Anyway, a reason for that is I think these ramps right here, because these are absolute troop funnels. When you have speed zealots running across them, they can cut that distance a lot easier. They're kind of across all over the map, but really the significant ones right outside the natural expansion. Natural expansion here, of course, and also you have that little bit, that little mineral pile, which Protoss really has to keep more of an eye on than Zerg does. If you open this up with a probe or a drone, you can sneak some units behind into the main, which can be effective for cheese early games, so we'll see how it works out. I really like watching Zerg versus Protoss on this map. Looks like we're going to see some sort of 12 build, not seeing, we could possibly see an overpool. I really like the more economic start for Zerg players, just because, again, you have that funnel, you have a ramp on top of it, pretty easy to defend Zerglings early on. Looks like we are going to see a fast expansion here from Hermite, not Hermit, because you got that E on the end. He's going to put that forge in. This is another thing, is run by is very strong on this map, actually. So if you go, I almost feel like 12 hatch, then some Zerglings with speed, and doing kind of a late run by is even that's a viable option. We're seeing a 12 pool here from Siege. Probe Scout managing to get into the base, getting kind of that little bit of scouting information. Let's see if this drone puts down gas. That's really the one. Nope, doesn't look like he's going to put down gas. Instead, just stick to that standard 12 build. Probably take his expansion to the boot. Forge alongside here. Not sure I like that placement of the forge, just because when you put the gateway, maybe you'll put the gateway right here, but you really got to worry about, again, the twofold issue. First of all, the Zergling run by, and second of all, basically the gateway placement. And let's see, it looks like the secondary now going down. See if Hermite plays the spawning pool and puts down the two cannons. He can actually put down a Nexus and a cannon, but it looks like he's just going to go for Nexus first. Needs to be a little bit careful doing so, as you can see a couple Zerglings already being produced. In the meantime, both players, just going for a standard economic game, going for their expansions. 12 pool a little bit more economic. Doesn't look like 8 Zerglings are being produced right off the bat, so I assume that these Zerglings are just going to be dedicated to trying to kill that Probe Scout. And interestingly enough, no gas yet, so looks like we're going to see a pretty heavy economic build, probably a third hatchery right off the bat from Siege, rather than going for any sort of break, any sort of tech, or any sort of quick delay. It is feasible that he could go for 3 hatch lings, but if I was expecting that, I would expect more dedication to lings in the mid game, and it looks like he is going to go try to take that 9 o'clock. Let's see if Hermite can really capitalize on, first of all, not seeing a lot of lings, and also not seeing that gas down. Check that 9 o'clock position out. Second probe coming out, putting that gateway alongside, and that gateway in front, it's not bad positioning. I kind of like this, actually. Need to be very careful, because the one thing is you do have that troop funnel with those 2 gateways, but Zerglings can still do the end around. They can kind of sneak up around the back here. Looks like an Overlord is going to move toward that back corner, just to try to keep an eye out. Second probe being sent out. Zerglings already on top of it, trying to chase him down. 9 o'clock expansion well on its way to going up, and there's that gas so playing a very economic game here, very economic game for Siege. Second cannon now being built, and it looks like a assimilator in the back door for some standard Protoss tech. So it looks like it's standard Protoss fast expansion against a very quick third hatchery. And very quick 3 gas, the opposite end from Siege. So Hermite's got to watch out. I would expect him to produce maybe a couple more troops a little bit earlier. And a tech to layer, actually, before even Overlord. Usually see an Overlord. Maybe it's because of the supply cap, but supply capping himself a little bit. Isn't producing Overlord, going to layer instead. Could be conceivable that he's going to go into a 4-hatch build. Maybe he's got that Overlord alongside. What has been popular is going to the 4-hatch, going Spire before Hydrogen, just to get a Scourge out to kill that first Corsair Scout out of the base. Looks like some troops now being meandered. Early weapons 1. It looks like before that cybernetic score is even finished, which really, man, 4 probes on gas, interestingly enough. So I've got to assume, well, that 4 probes on gas kind of throws me off, but I've got to assume with that quick weapons 1, we're going to be seeing that +1 zealot in the field employed pretty much into the mid game, pretty standard. Layer about halfway finished, and I really feel like just because of third base and a couple other factors, that Siege just feels a couple steps ahead in this match. Although he's looks like he's supply locked once again. Larry's going to be finished in not too long. He critically needs to kill this probe scout. This probe wanders out to the secondary and doesn't see a Hydralisk in there. He's going to know that he's going up against a Spire. He should have everything he needs to kind of deal with that as a result. Doesn't look like he's putting in any additional cannons down in secondary, and this is a little bit of a clogged natural secondary. He's going to have trouble with troop movement into the mid game. It's conceivable he could kind of transition to Corsair Reaver, but yeah, it's going to be difficult to funnel those Archons out. Looks like he's already got that Citadel up and putting down 3 more gateways. It does look like he's going to go for that +1 speed zealot attack. But critically, this probe still doing the scouting job, and this is absolutely amazing for Hermite. Kept this probe alive for quite some time. It looks like it's going to be a 3-hatch. I'm not seeing any 4th hatchery being placed. Yeah, 3-hatch muta build. Let's see how many larvae get saved up and how many muta it'll be committed to this attack. But really, it's going to come down to sunken colonies to defend the secondary, and you need secondary some sunken colonies really towards the ramp in the secondary to kind of clog those zealots up as best you can. Otherwise, those zealots can really end up running over that second expansion. 4 zealots already on the front door. Looks like speed is about halfway done. More zealots being produced, and there's that Templar Archives. So it looks like we are in fact going to see that speed zealot plus with Archons alongside, and it looks like weapons 1 is probably going to be a little bit early. A little bit earlier than needed. Spire is going to be finished, and I'm kind of curious to see how many Mulisks we're going to see dedicated to this attack. I'll try to get a count here as soon as it's finished. So there's the Spire finishing. There's 2 natural secondary 2, so looks like it's going to be a complement of 8, interestingly enough. So probably going to add 1 more to do 9, and a 4th hatchery being placed alongside. I don't like that 4th hatchery placement actually, and Hydralisk den along the edge as well. I don't like the 4th hatchery at the 9 o'clock location, simply because I feel like the 9 o'clock location is somewhat of a exposed location. I much rather, because you can, if you lose the 9 o'clock, you're going to end up losing both those hatcheries, and it's very hard to defend. It looks like, well, I guess I kind of like this alongside putting the creep colony down, putting a sunken colony, using that second hatchery as kind of a buffer. I don't know that it's going to protect that gap in particular. Mulisk's now wandering out in the field, going to be able to engage the zealots out in open field. No Archons alongside, so these zealots going to have to come back home at least until that Archon is produced. A couple High Templar, it looks like 2 High Templar and a Dark Templar now being developed, but fortunately those zealots did run out in the field, because that gave some time to get some cannons up, even though Hermite scouting the 3-hatch muta, being quite a bit delayed on those cannons, and having to send out those zealots to absorb a little bit of that attack. Looks like first Archon being morphed, it's going to have a hard time making it through that secondary, and there's that first Dark Templar as well. So it looks like Siege in a fantastic position, continuing to pump Zerglings, and he's going to actually be in a good position just to have units to engage this attack out in the field. I like the Dark Templar kind of mixed in to just pick off a couple Zerglings here and there. Let's see how many Zerglings it can pick off before. It looks like the Zergling's coming back home. I don't know if you saw the waiver or not. 1 zealot just trying to check out that 9 o'clock, see what's going on. As you can see, one of them can kind of get through that gap, but that's a lot of Zerglings on the defense. That should be enough to wear the zealots down before they're really in position. So for advantage Siege, I think, in the early game, finally these 2 Archons coming up alongside, a little bit delayed, and that kind of messes things up, because right now, big advantage for Siege. You can essentially move up, use these Mulisks to keep an eye out on things and pin him to 2 bases, and here's that Archon having trouble over that natural expansion. He's going to have to take down one of the cannons, and with those probes in the way, it's just going to be very, very difficult to get any troops, basically, except zealots that can shoot the gap across the field. Looks like the Mulisk's running in. One of them able to pick off, I assume, what was a High Templar, maybe possibly a Zealot that was produced in that back edge. But Siege's base is very very solid, where I feel like Hermite's base is very exposed, and he doesn't really have an option to take an additional base. Siege just macroing up at this stage. Looks like he's getting another hatchery down. Mulisk's wandering up, just going to pick off a couple zealots here and there. Single Dragoon being produced, needs to not go too far. Still has weapons 1, weapons 2 cycling along the way, and these Archons not really in a good position to help defend against these Mulisks out in the field. And still hasn't been aggressive at all, allowing, and you can't allow 3 base Zerg, well, specifically 3-gas Zerg, to just sit like that with you. Excuse me, if you're not taking bases yourself. A couple Zerglings wandering up. At the very least, he knows he's not going to have to worry about it for a while. I can't imagine Siege committing to any sort of attack this early on, particularly with the Zergling funnel here. So it looks like he's just going to set up some lurkers out on the corner, produce a little bit of contain, being a little bit greedy there and attacking that Archon head on. Took a little bit of a hit there, which essentially even that little bit of a hit was about 100 damage. So Dark Templar sneaking through. It looks like that Overlord is going to be able to see it wandering out in the middle of the field. some drones in transition, they might get picked off, but this Dark Templar isn't going to be able to do a lot otherwise, especially not without any Corsair to kind of whittle down the defenses, so it's just going to hang out outside. It's going to be full undetected and wandering up, getting hit once by that Sunken Colony, loses its shields. And I like this Overlord placement here. Ooh, another attack of these, looks like Milos running in, doing a pretty good job of staying spread out to avoid the Archon fire, but running headlong into a couple Dragoons as well. But I like this Overlord placement, checking out all the additional expansions out in the field. Single Dark Templar just hanging out here at the 9 o'clock, try to keep an eye on Siege's expansions. But right now, the way things are set, Hermite is set just to kind of get starved out in this game. I'm surprised he hasn't put down additional 2 gateways just to continue to macro up. You can see he's got 1,000 mineral surplus as a result. Just a lot of minerals kind of as a buffer, because he just isn't producing out of additional gateways, and he doesn't have an additional base that he's plopped down, even at the mineral only along the back. Looks like Hermite is already checking for that, sending those Mulisks back just to see if that mineral only was, basically if this mineral patch was opened up. Actually, one step ahead here. Second cannon being taken down, and again, front door problems here. Just little things like that. The placement of your forge, the placement of your gateway can really affect the rest of the game, and you can see how it's just very much affecting Hermite here into the mid game. A couple Zerglings just out in patrol, and right now supply count about 109. Ooh, looks like some Zealots running by. One of them is going to make it by, but not a lot else happening. A couple Mulisks engaging here, and now the Lurker is going to back off, knowing that there's an observer. A couple Archons near out in the field. But yeah, great position for Siege, just to macro up, just to play kind of the standard Zerg game, just to starve Siege out. Looks like Siege has managed to break out. Single Lurker just kind of in this back edge, and this is actually a pretty good troop count, about 87 supply. He is outmatched, about 98 supply, so good supply count, but most of that is in Zerglings, not in Lurkers, and usually you want to have Lurkers out in the field just to kind of help match this, and you want to run up and try to pick that observer out in particular. Upgrade advantage is going to be into Hermite's favor. He's got level 2 weapons versus level 1 Carapace and level 1 weapons. So at least he has a little bit of an advantage. And it looks like, wow, very nice decision making here on, I gotta say, very nice decision making. Just gonna skip the head-on attack altogether, do a run around, and try to deny some expansions. Maybe even go to the natural secondary. Looks like he's gonna wander around. Needs to be very careful. And this is, as you can see, it's making Hermite very uneasy. He's having trouble deciding where to commit his troops. He wants to go in for attack, but he doesn't want to get exposed. Storming, looks like he got a couple Zerglings, but he's going to end up losing that High Templar, losing some of his reinforcements, now trying to bring the rest of his attack force back to the main, but the much more mobile force just going to dodge away, losing a couple Zerglings, but not the entire army, and keeping Hermite back critically. And another, just looks like a single Zergling in that back corner to deny expansions. And Siege just, has this area camped out. And finally, Hermite moving up. He's going to just try to kill, and going to place a pylon. And this is another problem, is just placing cannons along this ridge is very difficult. Just not a lot of room to do it. It's just kind of awkward positioning. Looks like he's doing okay on his main, actually. His probe saturation not the best, but still has minerals there at the very least. In the meantime, Hermite doesn't have map control, but he is going to be able to take that bottom left-hand base as mineral only. He has managed to detect the hive. Looks like he's finally getting Overlord speed. He's got some Defilers alongside, and he can honestly get some Ultralisks as well, being very defensive, putting down 4 Sultan colonies. There's his Ultralisk cavern, and he's got a lot of gas, a lot of surplus gas to work with. He's got a very nice economy to work with, and he should be able to get Ultralisks before Hermite really has anything to deal with them. And that's just going to come down to some critical dark swarms, making sure that those Archons are completely ineffective. And no third gas critically just yet for Hermite to produce a lot of the Archons, a lot of the specifically anti-Ultralisk units here. Dragoon's going to be completely worthless when that swarm comes online. And just, all these units looks like they do have level 2 weapons. Let's see if he's going to level 3. He is headed towards level 3, but it looks like that as long as Siege can, well, nope, he looks like he's missing one of the upgrades here, but he is going to be able to keep up at least in the Carapace upgrade category. Should be able to get that level 5 Carapace with that Ultralisk. Yeah, he's upgrading that right now, producing some additional Overlords just to get a bit of a padded buffer in his supply, so he can fill that with Ultralisks as soon as he has the gas and minerals to do so. Hermite moving out a little bit, so it's going to start kind of checking out that 9 o'clock, checking out a couple things out in the field. He needs to attack really right now before those Ultralisks, before those higher tech units come into play. Otherwise, he's just going to end up getting run over. Right now, not doing too bad. He's actually ahead in supply, which surprises me somewhat. Zergling's going to pull an end around. They're going to be able to maybe... looks like they're going to try to run in. They're not going to be able to kill any probes, and they're not able to actually get any damage done at the secondary. Almost able to catch those probes in the middle of the transfer, but without Swarm, without that crack upgrade, not able to do a lot. Storm drop bottom left-hand corner. Looks like he's going to be able to get a significant amount of drone kills. That Zealot also going to be able to do some damage. So at least it looks like Hermite's going to be able to do what he can, but some Scourge immediately running up to take out that shuttle. Not lasting very long, is able to evacuate that High Templar. Looks like it managed to get about 6 drone kills, and it's really not going to be enough ultimately. And getting hit away. Let's see if he's going to have enough energy to get another drone kill. 5 drones. Actually, not that great a drone saturation here for Siege at his main base. I'm not sure if he got storm dropped earlier and I just missed it. I'm pretty sure he didn't, though. But yeah, the drone saturation, not the best. Perhaps transferred a lot of his troops out. And Siege continuing to keep that mobile force kind of out and about, making sure that that Hermite isn't getting additional expansions. Looks like a lot of the drones, yeah, kind of idle around here. Looks like that level 2 melee now being upgraded. I think level 2 Carapace has already come online. Yeah, we do have level 2 Carapace. And I'm expecting Ultralisks before not too long. Looks like a lot of Defilers already out in the field. Ultralisk speed being upgraded. A couple idle drones here and there, but nothing too big. And there's the Ultralisks being produced right now. And I gotta say, Siege, as soon as he gets those Ultralisks, he should be able to take this game down. About 138 supplies, just a little bit ahead of supply, but as long as he uses some very effective swarms, really there's not a lot that Hermite's going to have to fight that off. Looks like a couple more Zerglings kind of pushing out in the field. It looks like he's going to try to snipe a Nexus here. He's got kind of a crack team of Zerglings. I don't know if they're Adrenal upgraded yet, but he's going to move this Defiler with those Zerglings up to the 9 o'clock position. Doesn't look like Hermite's going to be in position to deal with it. So here's this little ramp where they can kind of move back. And I don't think he's going to be able to respond in time. A couple Zerglings getting caught out in the field. Let's see if they... Ooh, there might be a Plague over the cliffside edge. Doesn't look like actually. Not quite able to do so. More Zerg kind of hanging out at the 9 o'clock. Dark Templar, looks like it got 1 kill. Doesn't look like it's going to be able to get any others. But the one thing for Hermite is he is going to have the weapons advantage. There's that Swarm, and they're starting to pound away at the Nexus. Doesn't look like they are, in fact, Adrenal upgraded, so they're not going to be able to take down that Nexus as quickly and as efficiently as they would be able to otherwise. So nice Storm, and it looks like Hermite is going to be able to come up and defend this fairly easily. It's going to be very, very close, though. Looks like 374 hit points left. And really the difference between that Adrenal upgrade once again and not having it is one less Nexus versus one more Nexus, but very nice effort. Dark Templar just gobbling up some Zerglings now with a lack of detection out in the field. But I think this game, even though that Nexus attack failed, Ultralisks out in the field, higher tech units out in the field, a nice Plague over those Dragoons, which is going to make them much weaker. But Hermite's going to mix it up. He's going to throw some Corsairs overhead, add some Dark Templar in. And this is a really nice late game combination, actually. Just force the Zerg to do what he's usually tends to lack, which is Overlords with his Ultralisks, with his Lings, and with his Defilers. Although the Plague, if the Plague's in the mix, Plague really not so good with the Dark Templar. Reveals them immediately, makes them much more inefficient, and yeah, generally kind of puts the advantage back in the Zerg's favor. Level 2 armor being upgraded here. It looks like Siege... let's see, he hasn't moved up yet. A couple Corsairs going to wander out. Not a lot of Hydralisks or anti-air on the ground. So it looks like some of these Overlords are going to be killed, but already enough Ultralisks out in the field to just go and mow it down. Looks like Hermit trying to establish the 10 o'clock position, but not really going, and just allow the Corsairs to do his attacking. In the meantime, they are level 1 weapon upgraded. All those meals being taken care of. Hydrals finally being produced underneath to take care of a couple of those Corsair, but I think it's just waiting for the inevitable attack of these Ultralisks. Looks like they do have that Carapace upgrade. They do have a couple Defilers here alongside, and even though this is a much larger force, I think it's basically as long as as long as Siege runs these Ultralisks, this large grouping of Ultralisks sufficiently, throws the Dark Swarm down, things like that, he'll end up taking out the game. Some Zerglings running, going to be able to deny that 10 o'clock position, and it looks like they're going to push up with a counterattack. While the entire troop is being committed here to the 10 o'clock, he's going to attack that 2 o'clock position. Now in the red a little bit with that, and these Ultralisks definitely going to be able to take this expansion down, particularly with some Dark Swarm. Looks like some Psystorm trying to soften them up. It's not going to last very long. Some Hydralisks in the backfield now turning around. Really needs to swarm where those Archons are. It really makes those Archons less effective, and the Swarm will make those Dragoons completely worthless. So nice swarms right there. That Nexus definitely going to go down with just a few Ultralisks that are there. Needs to keep the Hydralisks out of the Storm, though, because they are ranged units. They don't do damage in Swarm either. That will help against the Corsairs. A couple Dark Templar in the mix. They do melee damage. They do damage in Storm, and they will actually not have too bad a job. But it looks like Siege is just going to end up getting starving out Hermite over the long run. Loses some of these Ultralisks. Looks like he ended up losing the majority of his force here. Just didn't have it concentrated and kind of pushed around. And it looks like Hermite able to dedicate his entire force, where Siege was a little bit split up. But it doesn't make a difference, because that's one less Nexus, and essentially Siege is going to be able to starve Hermite out over the long run, as long as he gets some more Overlords, because very nice on Hermite's part, just immediately switching around, going to take out a lot of the Overlords that are running overhead. So as long as he can keep the Overlord count low, it looks like he's already got some Corsairs and just kind of hanging out otherwise. If he can push in a really quick counterattack before those Overlords are replenished, he might be able to take the game really quickly. But actually, no, it looks like there's enough Lurkers, there's enough Ultralisks, and critically there's a almost able to take out a Corsair, and there's enough Defilers to cast some Swarm, do some other damage, and that's going to make those Corsairs very, very weak, plaguing all but one. So unfortunately, those Corsairs probably not very long for life, especially with just one or two Hydralisks out in the field. Looks like a Spore Colony here at the 9 o'clock location should be able to help as well. So instead of being aggressive, Hermite's going to try to be defensive. Again, more units going to check off that 10 o'clock, not find anything, and it looks like there's going to be another attack here at the 3 o'clock, the 2 o'clock position, I'm sorry. And I don't think it's going to stand up. Again, nice Swarm. Splash damage is effective. A big bundling of Lurkers, so a lot of them getting Psy-Stormed. A lot of them getting Psy-Stormed and getting really kind of melted, but it's still going to be overwhelming amount of Ultralisks and Lings, and underneath that Swarm, they're going to be able to wipe everything out here, despite that single Dark Templar valiantly fighting in here. It's like, no, stop it, I can stop you. Corsairs trying to go to work otherwise, but running right into that Spore Colony, not able to get anything accomplished, and enough Lurkers, enough Ultralisks should be able to just push in with those links to support, push in and take out this expansion in that upper right, and that is going to be game, because Siege has completely starved Hermite out. Hermite completely emptied his main, mostly emptied his secondary. It looks like the Dark Templar going to be taken out by splash damage alone from these Lurkers. The High Templar looks like it has one Storm, and that one Storm not going to be enough, and it looks like it got taken out before it could even use that Psy Storm. So that's it for the Nexus now, and there's that Plague over that Dark Templar. Dark Templar immediately taken out. Unfortunately had to plague his own Ultralist to kind of do so, and I think that Corsair force somewhere in the meantime got taken out. No, never mind, still alive, and some carriers in the mix here. So going to try a tech switch to carrier. I can't see this being effective because it's not going to take that many Mulisks, Hydralisks, or Scourge to completely neutralize this. And also, I believe that Siege is going to have a much better economy to do something of the sort. But I guess desperate times, desperate measures. Now Hermite moving out with his carriers. Conceivably, if he micros this perfectly, this could work out. But I have a feeling Siege is just going to throw all of his units as soon as he sees these carriers. He's just going to take all of his Zerglings, all of his ground units that can attack air, and just attack move them in. And as long as he does that, and then just with whatever he's got left, use them to nice plague. Use it to destroy the rest of this air force. He's going to end up in a great position. So I think that's an attack move. Looks like it is headed up towards the main now. The rest of the Corsairs just trying to chase this down. A single Dark Templar trying to block that natural expansion. Some Zerglings in there to do some damage, and it looks like Lurkers planted. No detection to help out against these Lurkers. Zerglings now pouring into the secondary. That was the attack move Zerglings I was talking about. So that one last ditch effort, unfortunately, being the catalyst for Hermite's doom here. It's kind of the impetus, the key moment. So maybe Siege would hold back. I think Siege was going to take this game overall nevertheless, but yeah, it's just a matter of ABC at this stage. Dark Templar is managing to take out that southern 3 o'clock, so nice there at the very least. Trying to even things up, and conceivably actually, if Hermite could somehow just hold off for some period of time, he might, because I'm looking at the expansions here and they're looking kind of thin, he might be able to starve Siege out, but I just don't see that happening, particularly when he's completely out of resources and his base is being overrun by Ultralisks and Dark Templar. And yeah, I think there's a pretty 900 resources, a little low on gas, and a lot of Scourge being built up. Really, it's the Scourge that can just neutralize a Protoss air attack so efficiently, especially when they've been plagued like this. I think that makes them a 1 Scourge, maybe a 2 Scourge kill. Let me try to check their damage really fast. They do 110, so it's a 2 Scourge kill rather than a 4 or 6 Scourge kill. And some more Zerglings now flooding in. Dark Templar again trying to pull up in position, do some defense. Looks like the Dark Templar are going to get taken out. Look, Observer worthy alongside, and those carriers, instead of going up and doing what they need to do right now and attacking, they're having to come back. They're getting pinned back by these Zerglings, which are now adrenaline upgrade. You can see how fast they rip into buildings, even in small numbers. But yeah, Hermite putting up a pretty good defense considering, but this is just giving Siege time to do this, build up a bunch of Scourge, build up some Hydralisk, build up some, it looks like he's hotkeying them all together. He's going to go in for one big final kind of attack to take out this Air Force. Only 24 minerals left altogether for Hermite, so he's got to do it with the units he has. He cannot afford to lose a single attack unit at all, and unfortunately I think he's going to end up losing a lot right here. Let's see how this is microed. So one Scourge landing, and you can just see the carriers dying one by one. A lot of Scourge ended up going into a single carrier, but that's still 3 carriers left out of, I think that was 7, so 4 getting taken down. And with that Dark Swarm, the carrier's effectiveness completely neutralized, and I think that is going to be GG momentarily. No probes left in Hermite's base. Hermite has a couple Lings that are just working away at everything, and a couple Corsairs that are just tagged following that carrier army. Enough Hydralisks should be pushing in now to just finish this up. And even those 3 Zerglings, look at them go to work here. And now Ultalisk's barreling in as well. Going to be able to take out some of this higher level robotics facility, other tech along the way. So anyway, this is going to be GG. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Game 1 of the Cottercup, at least in this stage between Hermite and Siege, PK versus Stockholm, the Royal University of Technology, going to end up going into Siege's favor. So, who I believe was for Stockholm. Stockton. Stockholm, much more exciting. There's GG from Hermite. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.